The other thing that we do exceptionally well here is our e-learning program. And I'm going to hand over to our head of e-learning right now, Mr. David Parr, and he's going to take you through what that looks like. For those of you who are more technologically savvy, we've had a conversation while we were waiting for Marsden and Parnell to get here about your technology skills. This will be particularly interesting for you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, they won't understand it. That's a shout out to your parents and us for graduating high school without Google, because we had to use encyclopedias and stuff. It's just recognising the old people in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, boys and parents. So as Ms. Irving said, I'm the head of e-learning here. I also teach art history and art, so you'll probably meet me up in the art department at some point. So you'll be receiving a package with iPads in. We're an iPad school and have been. We're also an Apple Distinguished School, one of 475 in the world. And my role is to see how we can integrate this technology with the teaching and learning that goes on at King's College. And I spend most of my time with the staff, but I also will be seeing you in sessions that we have called Ngā Tuapapa. And I'll be going through some of the skills, some of the behaviours that we expect you to learn and to maintain in those sessions. I'll also keep in touch with you, giving you tips through email as well. I want to start off with a rather difficult concept. May as well dive right into the deep end. And just run through a conceptual framework for learning. This is something that we try to get the teachers to embrace. It's called TPACK, which is an acronym that stands for Technological, Pedagogical and Content Knowledge. Okay, so a framework is a way in which you can structure your thinking around something that's quite difficult. So this is to help you think about the way in which we use technology in our teaching and learning. So we're going to break it down into three parts. We've got content. That's, for us, it's what we teach. Okay, it's my knowledge of art history. For you, it'll be the knowledge that you learn. So in a way, it's the content that goes into your brain and that you keep it there. Then, of course, we've got the technology side. For you, that's going to be the iPads and the peripherals, like the pencil, the keyboard, and any of the other services that you can use. Like I was showing a little bit of AR, which I hope to do later. The PIA boys saw that as I tested it earlier. And then there's this difficult word, pedagogy, which Ms. Irving has just explained to you, so hopefully it's no longer difficult. For teachers, it's the way in which we teach, and it's going to be highly personal. Okay, we all have different characters, and really it's the way in which we get across the content. So it's the way in which we get the content that we know into your brains and make it part of your life and your knowledge and understanding. Okay? And then we try to use technology to do that. So there's a kind of a sweet spot pulsating there at the heart of the union of this Venn diagram of these things. So it's difficult to get across, but let me just run through using Jamie Oliver cooking a pizza to show you, maybe break it down into some simple bites.
Let's knock out a pizza. Now, one thing I want you to see at the moment, Dave, if you come in, my mate Dave's just getting a close-up here. One of the points of the wood oven is as you sort of stoke it with logs, you see the fire licking up the top of the dome, right? 60 centimetre dome inside here. You've got this fire. I always push the fire to the side so it gives you full depth. The fire is coming up over the top and it's almost like a grill. We can cook a pizza in there in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, depending on your temperature.
Okay, so there he's just talked about the technology, the pizza oven, how it works, and he obviously understands how it works, the best way to get a good pizza, so it's not too burnt at the back and raw at the front, okay? Now there's the content. You'd be right if you thought that's what goes in the pizza.
So let's cook the pizza. I'm going to do a really bog standard, simple pizza. I've got some dough here. Go easy on the toppings. Less is always better. So 1, 2, 3. Little waves of bacon. woody herbs before they go anywhere near a pizza. Then it's going to kind of transfer all those beautiful flavours.
And then finally, that difficult word pedagogy is how he's going to bring it all together.
So there you go. So I've got the fire at one side, right? I've got it floured underneath. I'm going to go in and notice that action. So you don't want, if you just go, it's just going to fall all over the place. You'll have stuff stuck everywhere and you'll get upset and then you'll blame me. Flour it, dough. Obviously you don't want to make the pizza too big. And you just jiggy, 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 jiggy.
That's pedagogy.
Jiggy, jiggy, jiggy.
Jiggy, jiggy, jiggy. Okay? So what we want, I want the teachers to try and get that sort of perfect blend of their content knowledge, the way they put it across, and the way in which they use technology to put it across. And in the same way, you as sort of receivers, it would be really nice for you to start developing ways of, you're learning the content, you've got to often create submissions to hand in to your teachers. How can you put across your knowledge, your understanding of what they've been teaching you, using the technology in the best way? So I want you to always think about that. Don't think you're always just going to start writing on a word processing document and hand in black letters on white paper. Hopefully teachers will start looking at different ways in which you can submit works and show your understanding. But you could become really proactive and think about how you might be able to do that, and teachers are open to suggestions, okay? Oh, he's doing something else.
Look at that. In your own home. Nothing that arrives in a box will have that texture, will have that flavour. Look at that dancing cheese on there, absolutely beautiful. Little salad, beautiful dinner.
That is that sweet spot. Okay, so remember the idea of blended learning. You'll be given these iPads, you'll be using them in class, you won't be using them all the time. So it's going to be a mixture, a blend of perhaps more traditional styles of teaching and learning, and then you could look at more innovative ways of employing the technology of that. Later in the day, you're going to be given through the houses a package that we put together for you. This is the first year that we've done this idea of giving you the devices. In the past, the parents have had to buy them and you've come to school with them. So we're starting a lease program, which your parents may have explained to you, but I'll just run through it very quickly here. For you, the boys, starting in year 9, you've got an iPad and the peripherals on a 3-year lease. And at the end of that 3 years, so that's when you finish year 11, you'll hand them back in perfect working order without a completely smashed screen. You will keep the Apple Pencil and the keyboard, okay? It's only the iPad that's part of this program. For the girls, starting in year 11, they're on a 3-year lease through year 11, 12 and 13. When you reach year 12, you'll get a refresh. Okay, so usually in technology we work on 3-year cycles. So whatever the latest iPad is in 3 years' time, that's the one that you'll be given when you come to year 12. And there's an option for those still here at the end of year 13 if they want to pay out the residual costs of that and take it and keep the device rather than hand it back. So what do you get? You get an iPad Pro 12.9 inch. It's got the new M1 chip, which Apple are putting in their laptops, their iMacs, their desktops as well. It's very powerful. It's a big screen, okay? It's actually bigger than the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro that most of our students get, which is a 13-inch one, okay? It's almost half an inch smaller diagonally, but it's taller, so it's got more pixels, and it's also got a higher resolution. So what you see on the screen looks much nicer. You get the Apple Pencil, of course, the Apple Pencil 2 with it. You get a keyboard. Now we haven't gone for one of those combined things like the Magic Keyboard, where you put the iPad on and folds down with the keyboard. My reasoning for that is that it tends to inhibit the use of the iPad as a completely different device. It's still trying to make the iPad be like a keyboard, like a laptop, sorry. So usually in class, this folder, here I'll show you that. So you're also getting this tiny folder to keep it in. I like you to work on that sort of angle, okay? So it's the lower angle rather than have it tipped up like that, but I'll deal with that more through the Tua Papa, in our Tua Papa sessions. So you get the folio case there with that. You also get 200 gigabytes of free iCloud storage. Okay, so we'll look at how you'll keep your stuff organized and stored in the cloud rather than on the device. Throughout those 3 years, you also have an Apple Care program which covers not misuse, but malfunction, really. And that's 24/7. So if something goes wrong with your iPad, you can go to the IT department and they'll give you a brand new one straight away and you'll set it up from your iCloud backup. Okay, so there should be no delays in you being able to continue with your learning. It also gives you 24/7 technical support by phone. And that's for your family, so that even if your father's trying to do pivot tables and numbers spreadsheet and can't work it out, he can actually call a number and an Apple representative will talk him through that. Okay, so that's really valuable. I'll just quickly whiz through the benefits. Maybe this is more for the parents than for you, but we'll have device equity. Everyone in the class, everyone in the school will have the same, or everyone in this program at the moment will have the same device, the iPad Pro. You'll have app equity and distribution, so you'll all have the same apps. If a teacher wants you to use specific apps, we make those available to you. We can manage the devices so that it's focused on your schoolwork. Okay, so we have mobile device management, and that will keep your operating system updated. It will feed you apps and stuff like that, and also keep you, if you're tempted to misbehave, it will help stop that as well. You get the 200 gigabytes of free iCloud storage, Apple Care support, the 24/7 Apple technical support that I mentioned. Apple Classwork is a system that we can use a little bit like Google Classroom, which we can start implementing that as well. Apple Classroom, which I'll talk about in a moment, enables us teachers to sort of manage your use of the devices in class. The total cost of the device is spread over 3 years. And therefore ends up being less for your parents, and you have the opportunity to buy the device at the end of your 2-year lease. So a lot of this is sort of hinges around your managed Apple ID. You've probably all got a personal Apple ID if you bought a phone or something like that, or you've already got an iPad or a computer at home, you'll have your personal Apple ID. We're going to issue you with a managed Apple ID. So that's an Apple ID that you sign into when you're at school. And as it suggests, it's managed. It enables us to run all these sort of apps from our central system, okay? So the classroom app, which your teachers might be using, classwork for learning, we don't do shared iPad. It enables collaboration between students and staff, and then of course you have the iCloud storage. So when you look at your settings, here's a screenshot of mine, you'll see at the top it's got David Parr, that's my personal Apple ID. Okay, that's the one that I buy music and books and stuff on. But then just below it highlighted, it's got King's College ID, and I'm signed into that one in the screenshot currently, and you can see on the right of the screen down below it says iCloud. It's got 200 gigabytes there for me. So when I come to school, I just sign into that account, and then I go onto the managed system, and then when I go home, or I can even sign out of it, maybe, when I go home I can sign out of it and enjoy my own private stuff. Two little apps that I'd like to run through very quickly. Classroom is an app that your teachers will be using. It's not to be confused with Google Classroom. This is a device management thing, and I want you to look at it in a sort of a benevolent way rather than a big brother way. Your teachers can sort of look at your devices while you're in class to ensure that you're on task, but they can also distribute materials to you. So you can the teacher can airdrop the entire class materials or a link. Similarly, you can airdrop stuff to them. They can, if you're in a music class and everyone's bashing away on GarageBand and the teacher wants everyone to be quiet, he can silence all the iPads simultaneously. Or the teacher, she might want to lock all your iPads briefly to draw your attention to the front of the class. Okay? So it speeds up the process in class. You don't get sidetracked having to sort of write a URL on the whiteboard and get everyone to copy it down. The teacher can actually send you the URL, airdrop it to you, and all your iPads will open up the same URL, the website at the same time. So that helps speed up the whole process a lot. Another thing that I'll be talking to you about in Tuapapa, and Mr. Mitchell's going to mention this in a moment, is screen time. We can't enforce this, but I'm going to speak to you on a different occasion and also email your parents about this, how you can sort of take control of your own use of technology, the amount of time that you spend on various apps. You may be familiar, hopefully you are familiar with screen time, but it's just a way in which you can sort of track your own use of these digital technologies. One of the things I'm very keen on is the use of the pencil and the way in which that now enables you to take notes, to write on the screen, to annotate, to do drawings. I teach Year 12 design. And we've done virtually the whole course on the iPads using quite advanced design applications and the Apple Pencil. And rather than me show you or talk about the demonstration, I'm going to show you a little video that was made by a Year 11 girl last year in media studies. They had to make a 1-minute ad for something, and she's made an ad for her iPad Pro, and it shows you some pretty cool use of the Apple Pencil. And if you think about how sort of technically accomplished Apple's own ads are, she's had to try and sort of emulate that. And I think she's done a really good job. She got excellence for this, by the way, in NCA Level 1. Okay, that's very, very good. Now, I was going to give a little demonstration of AR. That's a whole other area that we can use the iPads for.
There's time, Mr. Park. There's time if you want.
Time, quick demo, okay, so apologies to Beardhouse who saw this. So it's just one of the things that, if you think about it, the technology of the desktop has not moved much. The technology of the laptop hasn't moved much since we first started using it in 1992. The devices themselves have improved, obviously, considerably. But the technology of the phone, and therefore also the technology of the iPad, is advancing hugely. And you've got the iPad with the 3 cameras, including the space sensing camera, that enables you to create 3D models as well, but also to use them. So I'm just in an app here. I teach art history. So we look at sculpture, and the nice thing is we talk about sculpture being visible from the round. So this is a sculpture, a Greek sculpture called Discobolus, very famous. There's a cast of it in the Auckland Museum. But I can also very quickly go into this kind of AR mode, and if the gods are shining on me, as soon as I get those 3 dots, that sort of pattern of dots there, I can position it. Whoa, it's skating off stage, here we go. And the nice thing is that it assumes all the lighting of the circumstances in which it finds itself. Yeah, you can watch yourself in the present. So as I move around, we can analyse that body move. Where's he gone? Okay. So this suddenly makes teaching, I was talking about the new music teacher and she was saying, man, I could bring in a violin or a cello, a double bass and look at the comparative sizes of them. Apparently, seemingly in reality. So there's some huge advances being made there, which we can use. Okay, I think see this. Okay, so that's my bit. If I hand over to Mr. Mitchell now, he's going to talk to you about pastoral care.